Welcome to another Crown Data Systems training video. In this video, we're going to take a look at the CFM6 rating structure and overrides. This flowchart gives us a general idea of how the rate structure is laid out in CFM6 and how rates are linked to services, which are tied to groups and then to customers. The red section here indicates the user interface. Now, in the Crown 6 program, users are never going to see individual tariffs or surcharges when entering in shipments. Rather, they'll see a list of services offered, and the system will choose the correct rate on the back end. The reason we have it set up this way is to reduce user entry error. So the person entering in the shipment doesn't need to know that a forwarder has their own specific liftgate rate, rather than the shipment just requires a liftgate. To best explain it, we're going to start at the bottom here with your tariffs and overrides. Now, all of these systems are accessible under the File menu. So File, Rating, Rate Definitions will take you to your rate definitions. You have your surcharges and tariffs here. And to access service levels, you'll go File, System Setup, Service Levels. We'll also be taking a look at rate groups. Now, rate definitions are all of the services that are offered. So you'll have air freight rate for your standard pickup and delivery work. You'd have a residential service if you did residential work, and all of your accessorials. So we have inside liftgate in here. Your rate definitions are going to be defined in this table here, and then they're going to link to default tariffs. So these are all of your standard rate tariffs and surcharges tied to the services. So see here we have air freight rate, residential, and van, and then for accessorials we have liftgate and inside delivery. Those are going to be tied to these tariffs and surcharges. So let's say that you get a set of customer-specific rates. They have their own pickup and delivery tariff, their own residential tariff, their own van, and they do a white glove service as well. And for surcharges, they're going to have their own liftgate inside, but they're also going to do disposal and a pallet surcharge. In order to get the system to choose a correct customer rate when entering in a shipment for the customer, we need to set up overrides. And those are under the File and then Customer menu. And then if you go over to the Rating tab, if you click on the New button where it says Customer Specific Rates, you can set up the override. And how it's going to work is you're going to choose when using rate definition, switch from the standard rate to the customer specific rate. So here we have a section of the overrides for this customer. When using air freight rate, the rate definition, switch to the customer specific tariff. Same for residential, van, and then the accessorials, liftgate and inside. Note that before going through this process, you would need to have all of your customer-specific rates and surcharges entered into the system. Now we run into a problem with customer white glove and their customer disposal and customer pallet accessorial charges. We can't create overrides for them because they're not standard services which are already offered. So what we need to do is we need to define these as rate definitions. So going back to File, Rating, Rate Definitions, I would add them in and link them to their rates. So customer disposal, that accessorial is linked to this surcharge, pallet, and then the white glove service is linked to this tariff here. As a general rule, you want to use overrides whenever possible when setting up customer-specific rates. While you could add each customer-specific rate as a rate definition, you really want the system to choose it automatically so the user doesn't see standard liftgate and then a customer-specific liftgate. Rather, liftgate, and it switches to the customer-specific one on the override. If you need to set up customer-specific rates and services in as rate definitions, we can filter them out later so the user would only see these items when entering in jobs for that set customer. Service levels can be set up under the File, System Setup, and then Service Levels option. The best way to think of a service level is a template for how the shipment entry is going to look. So in this case, we made a pickup service level, added the pickup component, and we're rating it using the rate definition, air freight rate. Remember, this is going to switch to a customer-specific tariff if applicable on the override. So the pickup tab would show in the shipment and give us all of our statuses for pickup. If we chose a delivery service level, we can add the delivery, rate it using air freight rate, and this would give us our delivery information. Now you can set up these service levels however you'd like in the system. So here I made a door-to-door service level, adding both the pickup and delivery services, but then rating the entire move on the delivery line. So here I'd have the pickup tab and the delivery tab. Each would show as a separate item in the dispatch board and have their own service dates. The entire move would rate on the delivery side. Other combinations could be pickup and transfer, or door to airport, or airport to door service levels. Here I've set up a special service level for my residential deliveries. So I have the delivery component added, and instead of rating using air freight rate, it's rating using the residential deliveries rate definition. The decision to set up a service level for special types of moves is really dependent on how often you're doing that type of work. If you don't do residential work very often, it might be better just to keep a delivery service level, have the user edit the charge line on shipment entry, and switch to the residential deliveries rate definition. However, if you do residentials very frequently, you'd want to set up a service level and have it automatically choose that rate. Referencing our initial chart, we've just reviewed service levels, which are linked to move types, and then rate definitions to rate them out. Rate definitions tie to default tariffs and surcharges, and when using overrides, switch to customer-specific rates. This section here is what the user would see. So when they enter a new shipment, they choose a service level. During shipment entry, they can modify the charge line by going to the Charges tab and editing the rate, and switch to a different rate definition. Now we're going to discuss rate groups, which are used to filter out customer-specific services and rate definitions. Rate groups can be accessed under the File, then Rating menu in your Crown 6 system. Here's my default rate group. It's linked to all customers who don't have their own specific rates, and it contains all of my standard services. So in this top section here, I have all my service levels. Here I have all my rate definitions for move-based work, so pickup and delivery work here. And here I have all my rate definitions that are tied to accessorial charges. Here I've set up a rate group specifically for my customer account. I've tied in the pallet and disposal accessorial charges, as well as my white glove service here. I've also unchecked service levels which don't apply to that customer. So my pickup and transfer and my door-to-door service levels, which are used for other customers, are unchecked for this customer-specific rate group. A fast way to add a rate group for a new account is to copy your default rate group, set the name, and then add or remove services as needed. You can link the rate group to the customer by going to File, then Customers, finding your customer account, clicking on the Rating tab, and setting the rate group here. You'll also be able to see all your customer-specific overrides in this section. Note that the Crown application ties rate overrides and rate definitions to codes instead of names. This will allow you to change tariff and surcharge names without breaking the link. If you go to File Rating Tariffs or File Rating Surcharges, you should see the code next to each individual item. Lastly, if you're setting up a rate definition or override and you don't see the tariff or surcharge in the list, you may just need to reset your cache list in Crown. This can be done under the File and Preferences menu or by simply exiting the application and reopening it. To recap, customer accounts are tied to rate groups. When a user enters in a shipment into the Crown system, they select the customer account, and then they'll see the list of service levels tied to the rate group to which the customer account is assigned. Service levels are tied to rate definitions, but then during shipment entry, the user can also switch to different rate definitions on the Charges tab. Surcharges are also available during shipment entry in the form of linked rate definitions. Rate definitions are tied to default tariffs, but if an override exists on the customer account, the system will automatically switch to the customer-specific rates. Easy, right? Well, don't be discouraged if it seems complicated now. It will all make a lot more sense once you've set up your first customer override. And our technical support professionals at Crown are standing by to help. If you have any questions about this, please give us a call at 716-651-0977 or email us at crownsupport@crowndatasystems.com.